Chapter 3: Public investment to provide basic amenities and support job creation. As a nation, we have not invested wisely and enough in infrastructure. We have also accumulated a stock of incomplete and neglected infrastructure projects, which have proved a waste of scarce resources. Lack of coordinated and integrated planning means that investments have been sporadic, not synchronized, and not thought through enough. As our population has grown, our infrastructure has not kept pace with the increasing demand, drastically impacting on the quality of life and the cost of business and economic activity. In order for Ghana to have sustained growth, we need sustained investment in our infrastructure and in an integrated way. Our transformation program involves a significant infrastructure upgrade and development as a major fulcrum. We believe that this can be done by working with the private sector, using innovative funding strategies, and ensuring we get value for money. Our focus will be to invest prudently in public works in the following areas. Transport. Our current transportation network is not integrated and is inadequate. Accordingly, we have not optimized the linkages between our roads, railways, and ports for full economic and social benefit. We will implement the recommendations of the National Transportation Policy that was put together during the Kufuor administration and seeks to optimize our national transportation networks. We will expand and maintain the nation's transportation infrastructure and service. We will seek to integrate and consolidate all modes of transportation to improve efficiency and cut down costs. An efficient, cost-effective transportation system has a significant impact on people. We will have a transportation system which supports all sectors of the Ghanaian economy and helps improve economic growth and prosperity. Roads. Our road system is overburdened and in a poor state of disrepair. Only 20% of the nation's road network has been bituminously surfaced. The NPP and government increased the roads bituminous surface from 7,140 kilometers at the end of 2000 to 12,750 kilometers by the close of 2008, an increase of 80%. Not much has been done since then. The 80% of roads in gravel and earth surface conditions pose a big challenge to the effectiveness of the road network in the wet season. Moreover, the road networks, especially in the urban areas, are incessantly overburdened with traffic. In the rural areas, the roads rarely exist. In the last 3 years, less than 1,000 kilometers of road has been added to the road network. The shameful state of affairs is simply not acceptable. In comparison, NPP in government expanded the road network from 37,300 kilometers in 2000 to 56,057 kilometers by 2004, an average of over 4,750 kilometers per year. Additionally, 42% of the road network that was in good condition as at the end of 2008 has not changed. 58% of our roads that are currently in fair and poor conditions suggest a huge backlog of maintenance, another big challenge to the effectiveness and efficiency of road transport. We will build on the extensive road development program of the last NPP government, which saw an 8% increase in the road network, and continue with the accelerated road expansion. Our road infrastructure as at the end of 2011 comprised some 13,367 kilometers of trunk roads, 12,450 kilometers of urban roads, and 42,093 kilometers of feeder roads. We will continue with timely, routine, and periodic maintenance programs we started during the Kufuor regime to improve road network conditions and ensure prudent and judicious disbursement of the road fund to finance routine and periodic maintenance, road safety, and upgrading of minor roads in order of priority. The annual funding gap of 40% since 2009 for road maintenance, upgrading and minor rehabilitation has resulted in undue delays in honorary payments to contractors and a consequent huge accrued interest burden. We would look beyond the traditional sources of revenue for the road sector to reduce significantly this funding gap. These include innovations such as a road bond and public-private partnerships. In partnership with the private sector, we will develop interchanges, flyovers, and overpasses in our urban areas to deal with the costly, incessant traffic whilst connecting all regional capitals with first-class roads. We will, in partnership with the private sector, also ensure that all economically active areas are connected with first-class roads across regions and districts. These shall include flagship projects such as the Eastern Corridor Roads, the Western Corridor Roads, Wa-Tunu, Navrongo Road, Wale Bunkugu, Fufulsu Damango Sola Road, a 4-lane Kumasi-Accra highway that will reduce travel time between our two largest cities by 2 hours. Additionally, we will also look at expanding the Accra-Tema motorway from a 2-lane road to a 4-lane road. Road safety is of great concern to us, and our policy will also deal with the problems by improving road use and enforcing laws and discipline on our road. To enforce discipline on our roads, the NPP will undertake the development and integration of data of the DVLA, police, courts, and insurance companies on vehicles, vehicle owners, fines, etc. Railways and ports. Our railways have seen no significant improvement since they were constructed in the late 1920s by the colonial government. They are treacherously obsolete and inadequate. Accordingly, our nation is not deriving full economic benefit from these facilities. In conformity with our integrated infrastructure development under our transformation program, we will, in partnership with the private sector, establish a modern rail network that will have strong economic linkages. We will link the north and the south through the Eastern Corridor, Accra through Akosombo to Kumasi and then to Paga, to facilitate the exploitation of our iron ore and other mineral reserves in the north. We will develop the Western Corridor Rail from Takoradi to Hamile to facilitate the exploitation of our manganese deposits, and then develop the East-West line to facilitate exploitation of bauxite deposits in Yinahin and Kibi. These will open up the hinterland, create opportunity, and link the nation with our neighboring countries. We will work with the private sector to continue the expansion and modernization of the Tema and Takoradi harbors, and link our railways to the ports by constructing the proposed Tema Akosombo rail link to Bupe and Buankra inland ports. Aviation. Today, our airports, especially Kotoka International Airport, are inadequate for our needs, and passengers face various travel challenges. As air traffic in and out of Ghana increases, it is important that we develop our facilities to accommodate the growth. Also, our regional airports are in dire need of upgrades. As a country, we have a great opportunity to position Ghana as a transport and aviation hub for West Africa. We will extend the roles assigned to Civil Aviation Authority and airport company to make them more efficient in driving the aviation industry. We will, in partnership with the private sector, establish Ghana as a hub for air travel in West Africa with a vision of building a new international airport. In partnership with the private sector, we will upgrade and expand facilities at our domestic airports, including the provision of new airports in the Western region, which is a major economic zone. 2. Water. We are faced with inadequate supply of potable water in both urban and rural areas. Our urban water system is antiquated and saddled with frequent breakdowns in supply and needs serious investments. Many rural communities have no access to potable water at all. We will implement a strengthened national water policy, which will greatly improve supply, hygiene, and sanitation. Our goal is to ensure that every Ghanaian has access to potable water. We will continue the program of the Kufuor government, which undertook major water systems improvements nationwide, including Cape Coast, Mankesim, Koforidua, Kumasi, Konyakon, Adan, Sogakofe, the Accra East-West Interconnection, and Tamale. The program led to the completion of over 9,000 new boreholes and 500 new pipe water systems. To improve further the supply of water, we will build more urban water systems, sink at least 5,000 more boreholes, and build 300 more small water systems. We will additionally construct more dams along some of our major rivers, build a third water treatment plant in the Lower Volta Basin, and ensure more Ghanaians have access to potable water. We will ensure the water sector gets the investment it needs by dramatically cutting down on non-revenue water losses and empowering the PURC and the CWSA to oversee effectively the water delivery system in our country to ensure Ghanaians get value for money. 3. Providing energy to accelerate economic growth and enhance quality of life. Between 2007 and 2008, the NPP administration initiated and contracted major new power generation projects, which would have placed the nation's power capacity beyond 5,000 megawatts by the end of 2012, instead of the current installed capacity of 2,210 megawatts. While a few of these projects are currently being pursued by the NDC, for example, the 400 megawatt Bui Hydro Dam and 132 megawatt thermal plant at Tokoradi. Other initiatives such as the 220 megawatt Alstom turbines have been left to rot at home. Funding for the implementation of mini hydro projects have been diverted for non-energy projects. The active agreements and memorandum of understanding for more thermal as well as waste-to-energy plants have sadly been abandoned by the NDC government. The net effect of this ineptitude on the part of the NDC Mills Mahama government has been poor quality and supply, shown by the frequent power cuts and consequent slowing down in the growth of the non-oil economy. Without stable and reliable energy, our industrial development and expansion efforts will fail and hinder our ability to transform the economy. Power subsector. Our energy problems range from inadequate and poor supply of inefficiency in transmission and distribution management. At the beginning of this year, Ghana's per capita consumption of energy according to the Ministry of Energy was 99.44 watts of energy as compared to 206 watts in Zimbabwe, 721 in South Africa, and 2,100 in the United States of America. Moreover, 90% of rural Ghana rely on traditional fuels source of energy. This is unacceptable. We cannot talk of competing in the global economy if we have not been able to provide reliable power for our businesses and our homes. Our generation reserves is abysmally low, at 6% against the required minimum of 18% that is required to ensure stable and constant supply of power. For this reason, as well as distribution inefficiencies, anytime there is a drop in generation, there's no reserve to meet the demand, and we are faced with persistent blackouts. Our priority is to bring stable, reliable energy supply to consumers and to provide the energy to drive industrialization. In that regard, we will complete the generation expansion program started in the previous NPP era to reach a generation capacity of 5,000 megawatts. We will tackle the problems of neglect and mismanagement of our energy resources to ensure that there is adequate energy to drive business, productivity, and development, and also meet our domestic users for cooking. We will additionally address the deficiencies existing in our distribution system. We want to make Ghana self-sufficient in our energy needs and then become a net exporter of energy in the sub-region. We will work with the private sector to increase output and will reopen negotiations with the interested partners to develop and complete the mini hydro projects such as Pwalungu, Joale, Pra, and Cobra and Tano. We will also work to exploit our gas resources to increase our energy supply. By the end of 2016, we aim to extend rural access to electrification to 90%. We will reform the power sector to improve good governance in the sector, remove inefficiencies, promote institutional autonomy, and ensure transmission reliability and security. On petroleum subsector. Today, Ghana is an oil-producing country as a result of the NPP's reform of governance structure in the petroleum subsector, which led to the discovery of oil in commercial quantities in 2007 during the NPP administration. This reform focused GNPC on its core mandate. The NDC government has come to reverse this and allow GNPC to trespass into the domains of other agencies such as Tema Oil Refinery. The present NDC government has failed to take effective measures to ensure that Ghanaians gain from the discovery of oil. The failure to implement the national policy of zero flaring cost the nation about $2.4 billion by the end of 2011. Whilst denying us the benefits of lower cost of electricity, as well as locally produced fertilizer to improve agricultural production. Also, the NDC government's deliberate contravention of provisions of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, Act 815 of 2011, is a clear indication of the abuse of power and mismanagement of our oil revenues. The willful failure of the NDC government to enable the Petroleum Commission to take over the allocation of oil blocks in accordance with the law, Petroleum Commission Act 821 of 2011, leaving GNPC to maintain control over that function, has affected the image of the nation in terms of the lack of transparency in the exploration area. Our policy on the petroleum sector will be to focus on the continued exploration of more reserves and transparency in the operations of Ghana's oil fields and oil outputs. We will enact a law that will improve the legal regime for petroleum exploration, production, and services, and enhance Ghanaian participation in the oil sector. We, in partnership with the private sector, will actively pursue the potential of building another refinery and processing plant in Ghana. The NPP government will make the Western region the hub of oil and gas industry. This will enable us to develop services and institutions related to the industry in the region. The oil and gas industry currently does not create many direct jobs. We will introduce an accelerated oil capacity development program, which will target training of Ghanaians in high job creating sectors, including fabrication, installation, manufacturing of equipment, and construction of oil and gas infrastructure. We will also pursue the development of sources of renewable energy to diversify as well as ensure sustainability in our energy sources. We will therefore reform the governance arrangements in sectors and pursue strategic partnership that will help to exploit actively Ghana's renewable energy potential sources such as solar, wind, and biomass. Developing the North. The northern regions in Ghana still remain relatively underdeveloped after 55 years of our independence, even though the area has been identified as the potential breadbasket of the entire country. Its development has been very limited. With about 7 million hectares of potential agricultural land with good soil, only 10% is under cultivation, mainly by smallholders. Less than 700 hectares, which is 10% of the land, is irrigated, and farm practices are very elementary and obsolete. Beyond the agricultural potential, the three northern regions are endowed with resources of significant economic importance, such as iron ore, manganese, and gold. Yet, the region still remains the poorest part of the country. Despite NPP's comprehensive plan in 2008 to reform the northern regions, this has not occurred. Over the last 3 years, the Savannah Accelerated Development Authority, SADA, has failed to impact any meaningful development in the regions. The resources promised by the NDC administration have barely been met, and SADA has become another deceptive and failed promise by the NDC. Without a dedicated source of financing, the sustainability of SADA is doubtful. In this regard, the NPP will provide a dedicated source of financing for the Northern Development Program. An aggressive irrigation program will be introduced in the north to ensure all year-round agriculture. Government intervention will include provision of technology to boost production and productivity in the shea nut, sorghum, and cotton industries. Private sector operators will be encouraged through fiscal and other incentives to invest in these industries. During the last NPP government, we started the upgrading of the Tamale Airport to an international standard, which enabled us to host matches in Tamale during the CAN 2008. In fact, the airlines that brought the South African and Senegalese teams landed at the Tamale Airport. The upgraded facilities have supported the growth of the domestic aviation industry. The Tamale Airport has immense commercial value, especially in promoting trade between Ghana and her Sahelian neighbors. We will continue with the upgrading of the airport and develop the commercial activities at the end of the airport to increase trade and create jobs for people. It is our very firm belief that it's important to develop the savannah regions to bridge the development gap between the north and the south and ensure that the whole country can share in the opportunity of wealth creation. We will improve the roads in the north and develop a railway system to open up the regions to facilitate exploitation of their mineral and agricultural resources and enhance investment and economic attractiveness. We will provide incentives to businesses to establish or relocate to the northern regions and enable them compete effectively, which will also generate considerable employment. We will also develop the 3 public universities. We intend to expand the 2 UDS campuses in Wa and Navrongo into autonomous universities, into academic centers for excellence for agriculture, ICT, languages, attracting students from Ghana and beyond. 5. Zongos and inner city redevelopment matter. The various Zongos and inner city communities around the country are seriously underdeveloped and lack basic infrastructure such as roads, water, toilets, good sanitation, schools, and health facilities. Very often, they seem left behind in any development, especially in the urban centers. We will work with the communities to upgrade and rebuild their infrastructure and improve the lives of these residents. We will support residents of deprived and neglected areas and give them dignity that they deserve, improve their health, and enhance the value of their properties. We will set up a Zongo and Inner City Redevelopment Fund to target basic community infrastructure problems. Our environment matters. Unbridled exploitation of Ghana's resources poses an environmental challenge and a threat to health. The scourge of non-biodegradable plastics, pollution of our beaches and coastal waters, recklessly poor practices of miners, destruction of our water bodies, and poor management of our forest reserves are a source of considerable concern. Over the years, we have destroyed our environment for economic benefit and our vision to restore and sustain it. We will encourage the use of biodegradable plastics. We will invest in environmental conservation and rehabilitation to preserve our biodiversity, restore degraded land, combat erosion, protect our rivers and other water bodies, and ensure that the environmental impact of mining and oil extraction in Ghana is carefully mitigated. In line with this, the next NPP government will embark on an ambitious reforestation program. This will serve the multi-purpose of protecting the environment, creating immediate jobs for our youth, and creating future wealth. We will employ the same concept to use waste to generate electricity in Ghana. 7. Modernizing our agriculture and ensuring food security. Agriculture is considered to be an anchor of Ghana's economy and is estimated to create a value of approximately 14.2 billion Ghana cedis, roughly 23.9% of the 2011 GDP, and employs approximately 4.6 million people, 56% of the workforce. However, the sector lacks sophistication and is dominated by subsistence farmers. Approximately 3 million smallholder farmers with average farm sizes between 0.5 to 2 hectares currently produce 95% of the country's food crop. Further, as indicated by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and AGRA, Ghana faces increasing food security challenges in the near future. This is due to the pervasively fragmented value chain, inefficiency and obsolete farming techniques, and equipment in the sector. Our total agricultural land is 13.6 million hectares. However, only 7.3 million hectares is under cultivation, with less than 35,000 under irrigation as of 2010. Modernizing agriculture is fundamental to our program of transformation, and Ghana needs a breakthrough in agriculture to achieve self-sufficiency in our food supply, particularly in grains, fish, and meat. Currently, we're only achieving 30% of our rice needs, for example, while we have potential to be 75% self-sufficient. Our farmers are significantly constrained by a number of transversal interventions, such as expensive and unavailable inputs, poor infrastructure, expensive financing, obsolete techniques and equipment, and poor policy support. For example, fertilizer usage in Ghana is only 8 kilograms per hectare, as compared to 20 kilograms per hectare in sub-Saharan Africa and over 100 kilograms per hectare in Asia. Less than 50% of farmers use fertilizers, and when available, it's at high cost. Improved seeds are generally not available and are also at high cost. Farm roads are bad and credit is too expensive when available. Agriculture can be a major avenue for creating jobs, income, and wealth. Our policy is primarily to tackle the interventions to increase production both in cash crops and food crops and encourage processing of our products. We will initiate programs aimed at fostering the growth of a diversified agricultural sector, with efficient smallholders as well as medium and large-scale producers. Accordingly, we will support a number of private sector change agents in large-scale commercial farming, whilst assisting smallholders to adopt modern techniques and practices. The objective will be to ensure food security, increase productivity and production for export of high-value crops, and a sustainable domestic agro-processing industry, as well as to significantly increase incomes for our farmers. We will target development in all 4 of Ghana's bread baskets to ensure productivity and production in selected food crops and high-value cash crops. We shall adopt the integrated approach to the agricultural sector that we proposed and executed under the Millennium Challenge Account project. This integrated approach recognizes that the transversal interventions or key constraints affecting the sector will have to be tackled simultaneously to produce a sustained results. To modernize agriculture within the framework of structural transformation of our economy, we will take the following specific measures as well. Smallholder farmers. We will encourage our smallholder farmers to adopt new and improved agricultural technologies and seeds, mitigate their over-reliance on rain-fed agriculture through irrigation, provide them with quality and affordable fertilizer, and improve land tenure and acquisition. Commercial agriculture. We will encourage private sector investments into large-scale commercial agriculture that also support cooperative, small, and outgrower farmers. Commercial agriculture will be underpinned by sustainable production. Access to land for agriculture. We are committed to the completion of the restructuring of the land title registration and land administration projects to facilitate the efficient transfer of title and use of agricultural land. Finance. We will reform security and title to land to make it possible to extend the benefits of micro-lending and other forms of finance to ordinary farmers with limited capital and resources. Furthermore, to enhance the ability of Ghanaian farmers to acquire the relevant technology to make them competitive, our government will establish an agricultural technology fund to provide financing for small and large-scale farmers at subsidized rates. We'll also reposition the state-owned Agricultural Development Bank to fulfill its original mandate of specifically supporting agricultural finance. Infrastructure. We will create more access to our roads, farm gates, and market centers to mitigate post-harvest losses and ensure availability of foodstuff to consumers. Additionally, we'll work with the private sector and traditional authorities to improve our marketplaces and to develop warehouses and pack houses to ensure effective and efficient distribution and to minimize post-harvest losses. We intend to expand irrigation coverage nationwide, especially in the Afram Plains and in the northern part of Ghana. We will develop and facilitate community-owned and managed facilities like dams, boreholes, and dugouts to expand irrigation. Research and extension services. We will build our earlier effort to encourage the modernization of agriculture through education, research, and mechanization. We will move to achieve a ratio of 1 extension officer to 500 farmers to enhance technical knowledge. We will develop adult education and literacy programs to assist farmers to learn new and improved methods of agriculture, assist farmers to embrace mechanized farming and enable them raise productivity, encourage and facilitate the use of ICT, especially mobile phones, to improve productivity, output and information exchange. Resource extension officers to deliver efficient service to farmers. Agro-processing. We will encourage and support agro-processing so that domestic production will compete with imports, with the aim of replacing imports over time and promote exports. Micro, small and medium-scale producers will be given the support to acquire appropriate technology and basic processing plants for their operators. Mechanization. We will establish 250 mechanization centers across the country to provide mechanization services to farmers at competitive prices. We will also supply power tillers and other appropriate technologies to smallholder operations annually. Education, research and technology development. We will restructure agricultural research institutions to build on the high-yielding crop variety and provide greater support to farmers. Input support. The use of fertilizers is low, and less than 5% of farms in Ghana use any added nutrients of any kind, owing to costs and lack of easy availability. We will restore and improve the fertilizer distribution system that existed during the Kufuor administration and streamline the fertilizer subsidy system and ensure fertilizers get to farmers on timely basis. We have not succeeded in developing a livestock industry. However, as we transform our nation, it will be important to ensure good nutrition for our people by ensuring that we have sustainable source of protein. This means that we will need to develop a vibrant livestock industry in addition to fisheries, while resuscitating our collapsed poultry industry. Fisheries subsector. Fisheries are essential to the livelihood and economy of Ghana. Fish constitutes a substantial portion of the Ghanaian diet, and commercial fishing is a significant contributor to Ghana's economy. Over 60% of animal protein consumption in Ghana comes from fish. On average, Ghanaians consume 23 kilograms of fish annually, nearly twice the global average. Approximately 4.5% of Ghana's 2008 gross domestic product came from fisheries, and 10% of Ghanaians work in the fishing industry. However, nearly all of the marine fisheries and to some extent the inland fisheries of Ghana are overfished due to increasing population. Over 60% of the animal protein consumption in Ghana comes from fish, and on average, Ghanaians consume 23 kilograms of fish annually, nearly twice the global average. Approximately 4.5% of Ghana's 2008 gross domestic product came from fisheries, and 10% of Ghanaians work in the fishing industry. However, nearly all the marine fisheries and to some extent the inland fisheries of Ghana are overfished due to increasing population, increasing fishing pressure, and non-compliance with fisheries regulations amidst poor governance. We will re-establish the Ministry of Fisheries to implement the following policies which will revive a sustainable fishing industry and ensure good practices and enhance productivity for our fishermen. 1. Identify and collaborate with stakeholders for long-term sustainable fisheries management. Allocate additional resources to enforce the fisheries management policies, such as the Fisheries Act 625 of 2002. Provide subsidies for sustainable fishing gear, such as nets and outboard motors. Establish marine protected areas. Establish functional scientific advisory committees for each fishery. Continue with the program of building London sites and cold storage facilities. Depoliticize the distribution of premixed fuel. Promote extensive fish farming throughout the country. Poultry industry. The poultry sector in Ghana has been hurting as a result of challenges it faces from imports from North and South America and Europe within the broiler market. This has led to the shift of production from broiler egg production and also witnessed the collapse of farms in Ashanti, Brong-Ahafo and Greater Accra regions of the country. The key challenges are high cost of feed due to dependence on importation of key ingredients such as soya bean and cake, and high cost of locally produced maize as a result of inefficiencies in our production systems. Due to high cost of operational production, the farmer is faced with lower margins and the inability to make new investments. To address these challenges requires a holistic policy initiative approach, inclusive of targeted and time-bound import tariff and non-tariff measures to assist poultry farmers to address cheaper feed ingredients in collaboration with farmers and processors. Our key policies will be the following: short-term measured tariff increases that will result in relative high price of broiler meat whilst providing assistance to poultry farms to make them competitive. We will assist poultry farms improve on their profitability while addressing nutritional needs of Ghanaian children. We will initiate policies for pupils in secondary institutions to be fed an egg a day as part of their protein supplements. Non-traditional exports. Ghana has great potential in developing her non-traditional exports, especially in the agricultural sector. However, due to the problems facing the agricultural sector, not much has been achieved in developing the high-value cash crops. Recent trends in global markets, however, suggest that our horticultural sector could become a major economic growth pole, as Ghana is already highly competitive in some horticultural products. Using the MEDA model and the MCA program, we will focus on a number of identified high-value cash crops. These include sheernut, pineapples, mangoes, bananas, and vegetables. In collaboration with the private sector and local authorities, we will aim to increase productivity and provide market support services to make our products competitive. We will encourage and support local processing and value addition to our non-traditional exports. Specific activities will include ensuring access to affordable inputs such as high-yielding seeds, fertilizer and extension services, as well as access to affordable credit. Improving cocoa production. We will continue to provide incentives in our cocoa industry through high producer prices, bonuses, cocoa scholarships, mass spray and extension services to improve productivity and production. We aim to consolidate production around 1 million tons per annum while improving the welfare and infrastructure of cocoa communities. As part of our industrialization program, incentives such as special credit arrangements and tax breaks will be put in place to encourage the processing of a significant proportion of the cocoa produced in the country. The NPP still has a keen awareness of the critical role of infrastructural development in cocoa growing areas. In our administration, the Cocoa Road Development Project will be restructured. The project will be expanded to cover the remotest areas in cocoa growing districts. ICT. Without efficient and effective ICT access, our transformation program will not be complete. It's therefore critical that we have an efficient infrastructure that will support extensive ICT development. Statistics from the International Telecommunications Union as of December 2011 indicate the following. Only 14.11% of people in Ghana actively use the internet. Less than 62,800 people are actively wired for broadband access, though we have over 21.5 million mobile subscribers. Broadband access is expensive and not available in all urban areas. Therefore, ICT access has not been fully integrated into our development objectives. Accordingly, working with the private sector, we will ensure that we have a national backbone which will enable nationwide access of ICT. This is to bring efficiency to our businesses, reduce costs, and enhance access to education, social services, and governance. We will encourage healthy competition in private sector in the telecommunications industry and ensure value for money in the administration of our frequencies to service providers. We will bring down the cost of internet access to enable as many of our citizens afford and access information superhighway for development benefits. Other ICT initiatives will be as follows. Encourage and support private sector to facilitate affordable nationwide broadband access. This will enable speedy access to the internet and enhance our capability for e-business and e-banking, and participate more effectively in the global information superhighway. Policy to enable and ensure that all MDAs have connectivity and will automate and computerize processes with general public and citizenry. Encourage a mutually beneficial dialogue between private sector operators and regulators. Government, businesses, and information relating to services to the public will be computerized and put online. Tax incentives for local and indigenous technology content and media designers and manufacturers to enhance development of local industry. As a means of increasing ICT access, we will work towards affordable access to mobile computing devices. Support a private sector to provide infrastructure, which will enable a cashless economy such as the payment of bills, taxes, and application for permits and licenses can be done online.